Hello, good morning. It's Rosemary Manners, Australia's leading natural and traditional pharmacist. And I'm here today with my health cheat sheets. And it's my health show that I have, that I broadcast every Wednesday at 12 o'clock with a new theme to help you cheat your health. Help you get to a healthier stage without too much trouble, without too much bother, just putting new ideas into your life. And so I'm very excited about today's topic, you might have already seen, is why my children don't get sick days. And it's amazing. I look at my friends and often their children are home for weeks on end being sick. And I'm very proud that we often get a certificate at the end of the year, and we got one last year and the year before, where it says my children have 0 sick days. And so there must be some reason why that's happening. There must be something that we're doing so that they don't get sick days. So I thought I'd look at some of the factors in my household and some of the rules that we have and see if we can sort of work out together what that might be. So we're going to cover a few different topics. We're going to look at the foundation nutrition, so what we're putting on the table, what our kids are eating. We're going to look at evidence-based supplements, so supplements that I might sort of hand out, especially in winter, so that I can strengthen my kids' immune system. We want to look at the digestive system and make sure that we've got structures and in place so that we have a regular digestive cleaning program, and making sure that we spend time outside. So we'll get grabbing some vitamin D from out there in the sun. We want to look at exercise. We want to look at the kids' environment and see if there's any factors in the environment. We want to look and see if they're getting enough sleep. And I've got an extra little thing up my sleeve. I don't know whether I've succeeded in my household, but I know it's really going to help those kids. So let's start at the beginning and see what we can come up with. So what we're discussing today is why my children don't get sick days. So I've got 2 boys, one's 15 and one's 19, and they've had very few sick days. And in fact, in all those years, so what's that, 15 and 19 put together, my kids have never had antibiotics. So I'm going to touch some wood here, because it's not that I wouldn't give them antibiotics, because if they were sick enough, I wouldn't be able to get enough antibiotics into them. But so far, luckily, they haven't got so sick so that I've had to make that decision. I remember one time when Hugo was little, I was really worried and a new mum, and I went to the doctor and they said, well, maybe some antibiotics. Maybe he was sort of like had a bit of respiratory disease. And by the time I got him home and we really reevaluated it, by the next day he was right again. So he didn't actually need those antibiotics. So it's not that I wouldn't give my children antibiotics. They've just never really been in a spot where they really needed it. And so we're forever looking, and I'm forever looking and working on nutrition. And I thought I'd share some of my sort of ideas with you guys and see if we can sort of reduce the amount of time that kids are off sick from school. Like, it's fine to take them out and go on holidays, but really we don't want kids off school sick continually. Okay, so let's start at the first factor that we're going to look at. We're going to look at nutrition. Hi, Carmel. I get really excited when people outside Sydney come in and say hello. So we're going to talk about nutrition, and that's the foundation. Like, if I want my kids not to be away sick, nutrition has to be the foundation. It has to be the building blocks, the real sort of thing that makes the biggest difference. So we have a fairly whole food diet. I try and choose as much organic in our house as possible. We try and buy things in boxes rather than in 3s and 4s. So I'll have a box of tomatoes, I'll have a box of pears at the moment because pears are in season. So we tend to buy food by the boxes. I get them straight from the market, so I get it from the organic markets out at Flemington. They'll deliver. If you have an ABN number, or if you form a co-op, you can organise a few friends to deliver it to you. Otherwise, you can go out there and buy it, or you can find your local organic supplier. The organic food's not as hard to get as it once was. So most of the food that we're eating is organic. And I also try, when I'm choosing what my children are going to eat, I want it to be as balanced and whole food as possible. So I don't want any sort of too much packaged food or processed food or things that come in packets. I'm definitely sort of a bit of a sugar Nazi. I try and reduce the sugar as much as possible because I know the sugar will really make a difference to their immune system if they're having too much sugar. So what do my kids eat? That's a good question. So if you just joined us, we're talking about why my kids don't have sick days. They might have days off school, but mainly it's maybe to go to the dentist, or it might be to go on to go on a holiday that we've started a little bit early. But they don't really have sick days off school. And what made me think about this is Jeremy came home with a certificate last year to say that, like, obviously it's unusual in the school because they wouldn't present certificates to the children that have no sick days. So that's why I thought we'd talk about it. Okay, so what do my kids eat? So usually at breakfast time, I like to see some protein going in. So I usually make some sort of drink for them. So I use a very clean protein powder. It has nothing else in it except for protein, and sometimes I'll choose the chocolate flavoured or the vanilla flavoured. So it's a pea protein from legumes. You could use a whey protein just as easily, but just beware, some of those protein powders out there have more sugar in it than Fruit Loops. So just look at the ingredients, always look at ingredients. Look at the ingredients and make sure your protein powder is just a protein powder. Okay, so I put a few scoops of that in. I like to choose some sort of fruit. You can put green foods in it just as easily. You can put your vegetables in it as usually. We've got a box of pears. I've already told you that. 4 pears went into this morning's shake. I'll put any other superfoods in that I might have around the kitchen. And if I'm putting any supplements in it, I'll throw it in on the shake. One of my favourite things for the shake, and I usually have a box of these around the place, is coconuts, little young coconuts. We open it with a little coconut opener and we pour the coconut milk into the shake, and then I'll scrape with a spoon the coconut that's inside, and that'll all go into the shake as well. And so already the nutrition's building up before they've even sort of really started the day. They've got this highly nutritious drink that I give them first thing in the morning. So depending on what I'm doing that day, I'm not always there for breakfast, but I know that they've got nutrition, I know they've got protein, I know they've got minerals and vitamins before we've even started. So the next thing that I usually have is some sort of hot breakfast. So my husband's very good at getting up and making them an omelette or some scrambled eggs and putting them on toast or something around that sort of hot, sustainable sort of breakfast. It's going to keep them going all day. Because often kids don't really have a lot of time to stop for lunch. They might bolt a sandwich in, or they might bolt something in their lunchbox, but they don't really rest. Well, I don't know. I've got boys. Your girls might rest a bit, but my boys are out there moving all the time. So I think it's really important to really stack up those nutrients first thing in the morning. I'm not a great believer in cereals. A lot of the cereals have very low nutrition. In fact, we've got a joke around the household that the kids should be eating the cardboard rather than what's in it. But it keeps them laughing, and it keeps them sort of away from always choosing cereals. I'd much prefer to have something hot and prepared. My older son's into the poached eggs at the moment, so he gets up and poaches himself a few eggs and has them on toast. So really starting the day, like there's that saying that when you're starting the day, really eat as a king at breakfast time, a queen at lunchtime, and a pauper at dinner time. But I think so much for kids is just really sort of giving them the nutrients, vitamins first thing in the day, because they're moving, they're expending quite a lot during the day. So lunch, what goes in the lunchbox? I'm always again looking at protein, looking for some sort of protein. So if there's a sandwich in there, there's going to be some protein in it. We sometimes cook chicken tenderloins. We get some healthy sausages. Leftovers from the night before are fantastic. Put on sandwiches. Little kebabs are a really good idea, but coming out with something that I can look in the letterbox in their lunchbox and see protein. And then I want to see some vegetables or some green things. And we've got a bit of a joke around the household, because I'm usually making the lunches, is it always has to have something green in it. And that's exactly right. We love to put something green in the lunchbox. So whether it's lettuce or spinach or whatever's happening in there, it's going into the sandwich. So that I know that if hopefully they'll have time to eat their lunch, they'll be getting protein, they'll be getting vitamins and nutrients, and they'll be able to sort of keep themselves going during the day. Snacks, afternoon tea, again, tend to be whole foods. So there might be nuts or there might be fruit, but now that the boys are getting a bit older, they often come home and cook themselves eggs and bacon or pasta, or they'll cook themselves something like a mini dinner when they get home. Homemade pizza, something like that that really sustains them. It's made with whole foods, rather than something that, again, that could come out of a packet, which might not be quite as nutrients. So dinner's probably fairly similar to your dinners, in that there's protein and lots of vegetables. The kids are on the move all the time, so I tend to add potato or pasta or rice to their meal because they're using it up all the time. They're quite sporty and they need a lot of energy, and that's where those carbohydrates come in. So we've got to really, as you can see, all throughout the day, they're eating mainly whole foods, and most of those whole foods are just really full of vitamins, not most of them, all full of vitamins and minerals. Okay, so just welcome to everybody that's just come in and joined me. We're talking about why my children don't have sick days. So welcome to this discussion, and I'm giving you a few ideas. Hi, Naz. Thanks for coming along. So now we're going to play a bit of a game. So we're going to look at foods that are really good for your immune system, that will help your kids not get sick days. And we're looking at the nutrients in it. So we're going to have a bit of fun. You can write down what foods, what nutrients that you think are in it. And then we're going to work out what they do for your body. So this one's probably a pretty easy one. So you can see it's my nice fresh carrot. We got that, just came in with the organic delivery. It's so fresh, it's still got the hairs on the outside. Look at that, I'm pulling off the hairs. And it's got a bit of green there, so we know it's just been picked fairly not so long ago, because you can see how it's all very green. There's no sort of withered there at all. So I know I've got a really fresh carrot. But what I'm looking for from you guys is, do you know the vitamin that it contains that's good for your immune system? And I know you're all thinking, and I know you all know the answer. But the answer is vitamin A, or beta carotene. So what does this carrot do that's going to help with our immune system? Does anybody know that? It's a bit of a tricky one. But vitamin A helps with the mucous membrane. It helps maintain the integrity of our mucous membrane. So the mucous membrane is the layer inside our nostrils. It's also the layer inside our respiratory tract and our digestive tract. So vitamin A is sort of like a mucous membrane type thing. It is involved in the immune cells, and it's essential for optimum function of the immune cells. And we know that if you've got adequate vitamin A, your infections are going to be less severe. So where else, I know you're all keen on vitamin A now, where else can we find vitamin A? And so vitamin A is in dairy products, it's in eggs and fish and meat and, well, liver. I don't know how many of you guys are going to feed your children liver, but maybe. But there's also beta carotene. So beta carotene changes to vitamin A inside the body. And those sweet potato, they're the carrots that we've just been talking about, spinach and broccoli. So we've always had fun with food in our household. So the broccoli was our little trees. So we're always encouraging our children to eat something really healthy. And if you make it sound fun and be fun, the little trees are very helpful. So that's all about vitamin A. The next vitamin is probably really easy because it's the most popular vitamin at all. So these are lemons, all citrus fruit have it. Kiwi fruit is in there. Parsley is very high, and I know you've already got the answer to this one. So it's vitamin C. So as long as you've sort of got a lot of vitamin C, strategies to have vitamin C in their food, I think that's absolutely fantastic. The next thing is vitamin D. So vitamin D, I've already told you the answer. Oh, that was no good. Anyway, vitamin D is mostly from the sun. You will find some in little eggs, oily fish, beef, butter, and some foods are fortified with vitamin D. So vitamin D is very unique in the system, and without vitamin D, our immune system doesn't really work very well at all. So it's very good in the first line of response when the virus or the pathogen first comes in. We also know vitamin D is really integral at keeping those tight junctions. So the mucous membrane is like each little cell has got like an elastic of vitamin D in it. Because we know very much of how your immune system functions is very much related on how that digestion is functioning, because 75% of your immune system is actually located in that gut walls. So vitamin D is very important in the immunity, but it's also very important in that digestion. So it's got that double-pronged effect. We don't know the whole story about vitamin D because we know a lot of Australians are very low in it, which seems a bit absurd when we've got so much sunshine. But I still think it's important that kids are out there in the sun and they have some exposure to what's happening outside. All right, the next vitamin we're going to look at, these are dried apricots. I don't know whether you can see that. That's a vegetable source of this vitamin. So other vegetable sources would be legumes and seeds and nuts, but you can also get this vitamin from meats, and that's where we mainly get this vitamin from. And I don't know whether you've guessed, but it's iron. So iron's really important for immunity and making sure that you've got that covered, really. So beef or lamb or red meats or chicken or fish or shellfish, they've all got a little bit of iron in it, but getting it sort of backed up with your non-vegetable sources too. So it's important mineral for proliferation of all cells, but especially those immune cells. It's also got to do with how beta-carotene changes into vitamin A, so that needs to be some iron there for that conversion as well. You'll notice these minerals and vitamins, they all work together. It's like when we come up to zinc, and we were talking about zinc, you'll find that the zinc is very much related to, is a cofactor for a lot of these other vitamins. So it might be fine if we've got heaps of iron, but if we don't have enough zinc, then the immune system, we really need all these minerals and vitamins to get our immune system working as well as we possibly can. So we're running out of time, so we'll just go a little bit faster. This is looks a bit of a ratty old bottle. It must have been in my cupboard for a little while, but anyway, this is tahini, and Brazil nuts is another source of this, and it's selenium. So selenium is not very well talked about, but it's great to put it into your kids' diet. It's low in our soil here, so making sure that there is adequate amounts of selenium is important. It's an important antioxidant for the immune system, so it keeps our immune system viable. If you've got an antioxidant in there to sort of like to protect the immune cells, then they'll be stronger and faster for longer times. Selenium's also very involved in autoimmune diseases, so making sure that there's enough selenium if you've got sort of chronic immune things going on. The next one, you're probably pretty easy. These are little pumpkin seeds here. I don't know if you can see them dropping down there, and they contain zinc. So zinc and vitamin C are the two most known things for your immune system. So being able to know that there's enough zinc in your kids' diet. So what we're looking for is vitamin A, vitamin C, we've talked about, vitamin D, iron, selenium and zinc. And making sure that there's foods that cover all those groups in your kids, what they're eating each day. And so then you know that you're on the right track. You know they're getting the right things for their immune system and they're less likely to be sick. So the foods that I'm looking for is I'm looking for a prebiotic or probiotic food. So prebiotic food is just the food that the probiotics eat and makes them stronger. I'm looking for coloured vegetables. I'm looking for fruit, garlic, turmeric, cinnamon, cumin, paprika, ginger, parsley, coriander. I've got lots of fish and I've got lots of proteins in there, and very little processed food. I'm not saying we don't have any, but we have very little processed food, and I try and sort of reduce the sugar as much as we can. So that's the basis. So what we're discussing here is why my kids don't have sick days, and I think the foundation is working on the nutrition, getting that nutrition right, and being able to look back and see all the vitamins every day that's going into their into what they're eating. But there's more than that, just that. So you might get their nutrition completely aced, but there's other things to think about to really fortify their immune system. So the next thing that I'm always thinking about is evidence-based supplements, and we've got some great things just at our fingertips. So we've got some great herbs that are really kid-friendly. There's echinacea, there's elderflowers, there's elderberry, there's andrographis, there's pelargonium. So there's some fantastic herbs out there. So the first sign of anything happening, you'd be sort of have the herbs all ready to give them. And there's some great forms that make them friendly for kids. Zinc and vitamin C are something that my kids would have as a supplement at least 3 or 4 times a week. And then if they start coming down with something or any first signs, then I'm in there. I've got a strategy ready to go. So one of my secret ingredients is a super mushroom powder, because I know those mushrooms are absolutely amazing to help with their immune system. So we've got super mushrooms, I've got prebiotics, I've got probiotics. I think it's really important, maybe not so much for the immune system, but definitely for the brain, to put some fish oil in each day. So my kids take a variety of evidence-based supplements, not necessarily the same each day. A lot of it goes in the shake. I usually have a little shot glass at the side, and I just put all the tablets in there. They don't have everything every day, but I'm always sort of coming up with a strategy. So there's some sort of, especially in those winter months when they're more likely to come down with something, having some strategy in there, and not necessarily the same strategy all the time, to support their immune systems. So we've gone through 2 factors. We've looked at foundation nutrition and we've looked at evidence-based supplements. But I've got more factors that I'd like to talk to you about why my kids don't have sick days. So the next thing I'd like to think about is that digestive gut interface. So we've already discussed, and you already know that 75% of your immune system's in the gut walls. So if your gut's not healthy, the immune's not healthy. So we have little fun things in our household. I'm not sure. We always the kids always tease me and tell me that's not good, or it is good, or whatever it tastes. They've all got an opinion, but we all do it. So one week we had wheatgrass week. We sometimes have this green powder that I bring home from work, which is a metagenics detoxifying powder, and they have great delight in telling me it tastes like green slime. But we'll have a green slime week, we'll have a wheatgrass week, we might have a liver cleansing week. Well, I'll bring home some slippery, some Mary Thistle, and we'll throw that into our shakes, or we'll have them as shots. We'll have probiotics, lots of probiotics, a lot of gut healing supplements and different strategies. So we're forever keeping in the back of our mind that we've got some digestive program. And so we'll be doing digestive programs 2 or 3 times a week. It won't be, it's not 2 or 3 times a week, 2 or 3 times a year, but it won't sort of be taking over our lives. We'll just be having a bit of fun along the way, either doing green shots or putting green things in, or trying out a new herb, or having different strategies in there where we're continually healing the gut and trying to get more function out of the immune system by supporting the gut. So I'm going to call that regular digestive healing programs. So that's my 3rd strategy. So the first strategy was foundation nutrition. The second was evidence-based supplement. My 3rd is having regular digestive healing programs. So are you ready for the 4th? The 4th is, I think I've already mentioned, is having time outside. We've got rules in our household which the kids don't always think is completely fair, but we have them anyway. So we have no screen time during the week. And what that means is, yes, they get the homework done, and then they're so bored they might go outside, and they might sort of stand outside and get some vitamin D from the sun. They might go and get their buddies and go up to the park and play football, but that lure of the screen pulls them back if that's allowed. So we have a really sort of quite strict rule, and we always have around that. We must sound like a really household rules, but they're all sort of fun rules, and it's all based on helping my kids be the healthiest version of themselves that they can possibly be. My next funny little rule that we have is they must do 1 sport each term. So we're not really quite worried about what sport it is. It can be the sport that they love, but having 1 sport that they do each term. So it might be swimming, it might be soccer, it might be football, it might be running, it might be whatever they like at that particular time, but being able for them able to give evidence back to us that they're getting their regular exercise above and beyond what they might do at lunchtime or in their free times. So it's the one exercise per term rule. So it sounds very fun. The other thing to think about with the immune system is the environment. So at the moment we had all that rain at the beginning of the year, and it brought out a lot of molds in a lot of people's houses. Mosman tends to be quite an old suburb, and we've got a lot of old buildings, and that water really got down into the foundations, and there's been a lot of mold, and I've seen it in the pharmacy, especially among asthmatics and people that their lungs not working as possibly as well as they could be, suffering from mold. So it's making sure that you sort of have a mold policy, cleaning the house, and having a policy that you're not using chemicals throughout the house to do your cleaning. So finding strategies where you can clean with essential oils or clean with clean products that are not adding too much to the chemical load of our kids. So cleaning products, I like to have fresh air in the house, so during the day I like to open all the windows so that I know they're getting fresh air. I keep in mind that I read some statistics a little while ago about the number of people that die because of the air, and it's really high, and it was incredible. And I thought, oh well, they must live in polluted places, but more people die because of the air in the indoor than outdoor. So that means they're living in air-conditioned spaces, the air is not being refiltered properly, and that old idea of having pot plants in the house that used to filter the air, that's really gone now. People don't have pot plants in their house, which I think would be a really good strategy if you've got a bit of a green thumb. But opening the windows, opening the doors, letting in fresh air during the day, I think is really important. So having a really look at the environment and making sure the kids' environment is clean as it possibly can. It doesn't have to be super clean. So the immune system will work a little bit better if, like, there's that thing that let the kids eat dirt. So you don't want to be a super clean freak that has chemicals and cleaning agents all over the place. It needs to be clean, it needs to not be mold, but just enough for the kids' immune system to still sort of have to do something and have to develop as they grow older. Kids aren't born with an immune system, it develops as they grow. So we've got that. We've got looking at the environment. My last factor, or the last thing that I've got to tell you about is sleep. And I think sleep is really important for the immune system. And so we've always had this idea of 7:30 bedtime, because I think kids need a lot of sleep. Like when they're younger, they need at least 12 hours. With kids, like as soon as my kids yawn, off to bed. Like, the idea is not to see how long your kids can stay up at night. They need that 12 hours sleep. And as they get older, yes, you might bring it down to 9 or 10 hours, but it's really important that kids get a lot of sleep, because that's where the body grows, all the minerals and vitamins, it's the immune system, all that function is happening at night. If our kids aren't sleepy, that's okay, they can read a book. Like, I think they just need that resting time to be the most healthiest version of themselves that they can possibly be. So we've had lots of ideas. We've had 7 factors of why, how to fortify your kids' immune system so that they don't have sick days. So we've looked at foundation nutrition. We've talked about evidence-based supplements. We've looked at regular digestive healing. We've looked at thinking about organising so that they have time outside. Having an exercise plan, having so that they're doing at least one sport each term, having a look at the environment and making sure there's nothing from the environment that's triggering the immunity, and making sure that they're getting enough sleep to be able to regenerate each day and heal themselves each day. Now, I do have one more thing. I haven't actually achieved it in my household, I must say, but I get worried because their minds are so busy. They're exposed to so much at a much earlier age than I think I was. And they've got really busy minds going on. So I really love the idea of meditation and quiet time and things along those sort of guidelines. So what I have succeeded in our household is when they were a bit younger, I used to have a book of meditations and I used to read that as a bedtime story. So I think that's a great strategy. But introducing meditation or some sort of quiet time to kids, I think is really good, because often the brain and the rest of the functioning of the body is really hot wired. So if kids got really busy minds and it's going and they're worried and they become a bit worried, wart and anxious, that's going to pull down their immune system. So having some sort of strategy in that sort of area as well. There's lots of DVDs and lots of things on YouTube about meditation for kids. And I think putting that strategy and teaching them where they're really young how to meditate or how to be able to find that quiet time within their heads would be a really fantastic strategy. So I know my kids, when they did Taekwondo, I know their teacher there was really keen on teaching them to meditate and to find that space. So finding people out there that will help them find that space and help them navigate their way through that very busy mind. So that's the end of my show. I hope I've given you lots of ideas and hope that that they'll work for you and that your children don't have sick days, because I'd love your kids to have the same certificate that I get at the end of the year, touching wood, because I have always got it, is my kids don't have sick days. They have never taken antibiotics, which I'm very grateful for. It's not that I wouldn't choose antibiotics, but I've never had to choose antibiotics is what I'm saying. And so I think that's a great strategy to have them healthy enough so you don't even have to make that decision. So good luck out there. Thanks for joining me for my health cheat sheets health show. I'm on every 12 o'clock every Wednesday. And thanks for joining me. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you coming along today. And I'll see you next week. Bye.